Hey everybody, Fixxxer here, back with Firewatch. We're in the audio tour, and we are heading out to the north. I'm going to hit that number 21. So, what's the best way out of here? South? South, and then where am I at? West? And am I going this way? Not west, east. I want to go past the shale slide. Alright. Shale slide, not that. Up here, right? Yeah, this is where I want to go. Oh damn, I started walking up that thing without a rope. Holy cow. I mean, to be honest, it's not terribly steep. You got this, Henry. I believe in you. Even though you're a little slow. You got it. Great. Let's get a move on. And then we need to... Well, we can go straight or make a left. I mean, we'll just go straight and then make a left.
I know I should be relieved. Relieved that there's no evidence of us starting that fire. Relieved that we're not crazy. That there wasn't some conspiracy. But I'm not. He was a sweet kid. With a shitty father who hid out here like a coward after dumping him in a hole.
Delilah, I think it was an accident. And I don't think Ned meant to kill him.
We don't know what happened for sure.
Ned wanted his son to be able to climb and do the sorts of things he did himself, but Brian couldn't.
And how'd that turn out, Henry? I'm sorry. God, it would have been so easy to tell the truth and have him sent home. I can't stop thinking about it.
Well, then stop thinking about it.
You didn't do anything wrong.
Yes, I did. And now I've got to decide whether I tell people that he's down there so they can retrieve the body or not. And if I do, I'm going to be asked about Ned Goodwin.
Dee?
Oh, fuck.
Is that a helicopter?
Yeah, hold on. Hey. No, there's one more. Yes, here, yeah. Yeah, he's coming. Okay, 1 second. Hey, they're here, but they're making rounds. They'll come back.
Whatever.
I think I'm gonna go with them.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah?
I mean, it's dangerous here, and if anything were to happen, then that would be on me, so...
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you sure that's okay?
I said it was.
Alright, I should go.
Get out of here.
Have a safe flight.
Alright, have a safe hike.
Did I ever do that one? I don't remember. Do I have to climb up this for real? I don't remember this. I think this is one that we came down before. I'm pretty sure. But anyway. So, I guess I could start talking about it now with not seeing Delilah at the end. It bothered me when I first played this game that it ended that way. That we didn't get any kind of closure. I didn't want a relationship type thing or anything like that. That none of that had to happen. Just wanted closure, right? Go separate ways. That's all fine and dandy. And it annoyed me that I got no closure. And over time, I've gotten okay with it. You know, I understand why it was done that way because, well, for multiple reasons. Because Delilah herself is a... This is not the right way. God bless it. She is the kind of person that is, she has a habit of flight, right? When things get crazy or things get serious, she takes off. And she did that with her boyfriend Javier, if you remember. And she just doesn't want anything to do with serious. She just wants everything to be laid back, relaxed, fun, whatever. And that's one of the reasons. Did I do this one? I don't know if I did or not. And I think that's one of the reasons why there was no meeting at the end. And why she took off. And she was not really interested in meeting Henry. She could have been afraid of something serious happening. So I'm okay with that. And also, it kind of plays into the whole theme of the game in that shit happens to everybody, and you got to work with what you got, right? You got to play the cards that you were dealt. And Henry didn't want to have his wife get ill. He didn't want her to be taken to Australia by her family, and now he doesn't see her, and now he's out in the Wyoming wilderness trying to escape everything, trying to isolate himself. He didn't want any of that. He just had to cope with what happened to him, and like most people, he just wasn't very good at coping.
So, Rich, as you know, we struggled so hard to find you, to find the voice of Henry.
And I was here all along.
We're just right there in the valley, waiting for us. And you were discovered, basically, not discovered, but contacted via Twitter.
Those two things are synonymous.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because I don't think I knew who Henry was until you read for the character. And then I went like, oh, of course. Did you feel like you had to bring something out of the ordinary to him, or something created, or was it more of an amalgam of the words on the page and who you are as a person?
I think the latter more than the former. I mean, I think that Henry and I differ chiefly in that I would probably classify him as an introvert, and I would classify myself as an extrovert. And so I think pretty much flipping merely that switch did that for me, and that coupled with the words that made pretty clear what this guy was going through. And I think too, it probably did not hurt that I was recording this thing, in a tiny little upright coffin, basically, where every wall is bumping my body in some way. So there was a feeling of, even though this game takes place out in the woods, there was certainly a feeling of isolation that probably didn't hurt as we were recording. I'm going to bounce that back to you and say that I think that the writing was pretty clear on who Henry was, and I just tried to sound like that guy, I guess.
This was your first voice acting gig, really, right?
Yeah, my first video game for sure. This came right at a time when I was trying to get into voiceover.
Does the type of work that is so different than being on stage or on camera, does it fulfill you in the same way? Do you find is it tickle sort of a different pleasure sensor in your brain, or? I
wouldn't say it's exactly the same, but it's certainly a different part of my brain. But I would say it's at least as fulfilling as anything I've ever done on camera, because there's sort of a freedom in the booth that isn't there if you're on camera. There's a lot of you can't move too far that way, and you can't block your other actor's light, and there's a lot of technical stuff you have to keep in your brain that has no bearing on what you're doing here. I mean, the most technical thing I have to worry about is that I don't get so loud that it clips the sound. Otherwise, that's kind of it. So I have free, full acting available range, and that's an exciting thing, and in a lot of ways, more exciting to me than on-camera work.
Interesting. So this is asking Delilah to stay, and I'm interested to see what they say. If they say what, echoing what I just said.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Sean.
I don't know about you, but I get a lot of email and tweets about people really, really wanting Delilah to be in the tower at the end of the game.
I hear about that a fair amount myself.
And I am really, really happy with the performances of Henry, or Rich and Sissy, here in the canyon when she says there's a helicopter here and it's ready for me to get on it.
Yeah, me too.
And if you're wondering why we ended up making the creative decision we made, there's sort of two things that I know Chris and I spoke a lot about. One is Delilah is simply not the type of person to wait for anyone.
Yep.
And Chris did a really good job with me just sort of painting a portrait of her emotional state and what it would feel like to be waiting for this guy to show up after a really, really tragic thing has happened, and then just sit in this tower and wait for a helicopter, thinking about this dead kid and how like messed up their entire summer had been.
Yeah.
And the
you
dread
you
of
wrote
having to
that
do
almost like directly.
Yeah,
into the
and that's
game.
what I did. You basically painted that portrait for me, and I went, oh, well, she's just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to like sit here in the shadow of a dead boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I went like, yep, all right, thank you for giving me that. And then alternatively, Henry's wanted nothing more than to be made to feel better over the past 5-10 years of his life. Definitely the past 5, definitely the past 1. And that feeling of disappointment that you feel when you open the door and she's not there, even though you ask her to stay, and you can hear how badly Henry wants her to stay in Rich's performance, in his voice. I wanted that feeling to go into the player, that level of disappointment. And then for some players to think, man, but how disappointed would I really be if I was him? And obviously we can't make you think that stuff, but if we do, then I feel like the story has been successful in communicating the sort of the emotional payload that it set out to provide. So there you go.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I concluded it as well. She just wasn't going to wait. That's not her.
Hey, I'm at the evac spot near the ravine. Delilah, are you there?
Nope, she's gone.
Delilah?
She is gone. And then we get the chopper. Hopefully there is a station or two here. I don't think we get a map, do we? No, we don't. I hope that's not it. If that's it, I'll just oh, there we go.
Hi, it's Ollie again.
And it's Jane again.
So this is Delilah's tower. Funny fact, this was one of the first things we concepted and built in the game. We always knew that the game would end with Delilah's tower, and I think we all liked the idea of the title screen being Delilah's tower. So that was one of the first things we did as a sort of test. But it wasn't until closer to the end of the game that we really thought about what Delilah's tower would be like on the inside.
Yeah. And by that point, we kind of, we were very well acquainted with all
Towers.
sorts of towers. And so I don't even think we had a big concept about it. We just kind of went in and went through all our references, and we just decided, we should have this kind of ceiling and like
We should
different
just change
cabinets.
it. Yeah, it should feel familiar, but
Yeah.
sort of different enough that it feels like a Delilah's
Yeah.
place. And we thought about all the things that the player learns about Delilah across the
Yeah,
course
that
of
was
the game,
really fun.
and try and communicate that through things, but also maybe some things that you don't know about Delilah that are interesting to find out.
I remember when I was just making props for her space that I would ask Sean, hey, like if she were just eating a snack, what would it be? And Sean would just say, peanut butter and apples. And I would just ask Sean, what kind of slippers would she have? And, we would just have to think about, through the props, tell sort of a little bit of, character of who Delilah is, like what kind of shoes she wear would just be the fun kind of things to think about.
Interesting fact also that the behind the mask of the firefighter who collects Henry at the end is actually Henry's own face, because it's the only face that we had modeled in the game. I really like the idea that potentially someone would have noticed and thought it was this insane twist.
Third ending.
Yeah, third ending. Henry sees himself and
John Malkovich
realizes
moment.
that it was all a dream. Henry died in the cave-in on the way into the.
He
on the way into the
rescues
park.
himself.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good.
this is another one of my favorite parts of the game, is this sketch they have here of Henry, and it's things that she collected, over our dialogue over the whole game, naming the turtle Shelly, and describing myself as Raleigh Fingers, the baseball player. He had that curl mustache, he had the curl sideburns like that, he looked mostly like that. His beard was a little different, but pretty much he looked like that. So I thought that was a really nifty addition. I really like the pork pond sign here. I think that's pretty great. And even though in my playthrough I didn't notice it was there. Shameful, I know. Alright, let's get going.
Hey Chris,
Hey, Sean.
it's the last scene of the game.
Yeah, this took some getting.
This was very difficult.
Yeah.
Something you would say in story meetings all the time, which was, I was really afraid of writing the scene, and I was really afraid of the end of the game, which I had never experienced in my career.
Yeah, we went up to the wire.
You would say to me, oh, you're going to feel it out when you write it. And you would say that, you're sort of like, and you'll figure that out on the page when you're working, when we were trying to really talk about the beats of this last scene. And I would go like, okay. And some direction that you gave me that was really valuable was just the muted nature of this scene, because everything that has been said has already been said,
Yeah.
and there's sort of nothing left to do. And you get to a point in your life where that is true often. But movies and games never really explore what that space feels like.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to choose to do that, to write the not exciting thing, which I think is why the helicopter shows up, to be perfectly honest.
Yep.
We needed something to counterbalance this feeling of well, the story is just over.
Yeah.
They're not going to get to see each other because that's just the way it goes. So how do we make this feel big and final? We better pay for a big helicopter and a guy's hand you grab and everything. And then to tie it all together, we decided very, very down to the wire that you were going to write music over the top of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it totally works.
Yeah.
But what was that experience like for you?
Oh, it was very stressful because writing that music was literally in the last couple days before content lock. But I think much like the writing of the scene, it just I think I had just sort of absorbed so much of everything that had led up to that point that it actually ended up being an easier process than I thought it was going to be. As for the ending as a whole, I mean, we talked through how this game was going to end so many times, and on a literal plot level, it actually changed a fair amount in terms of how the mystery gets resolved, all the sort of background information that's feeding into Henry and Delilah's last conversation. And I remember something that was really important to me was as much as possible, I would like the ambiguity and the sort of meaning of the ending and of all the events that have transpired to be in not in the literal what happened, but in the why did any of it happen? Just in the sense of why does anything happen? I remember that was something that I thought was really potentially powerful about the way this game concluded. I think you got. I don't know if that means anything to anyone else, but I think that you got that in the writing, and it was very. I was very happy with how it ended up, even though it was a very
thanks so much for
contentious-
you through the entire process, 2-year process of trying to write this game, were just a constant checkpoint for me, because when you're writing, it's a very lonely process. It's very, very lonely, and to drift off of the tone of the thing you're working on with the other people is very seductive. Hey guys, we're doing this totally new different thing. This scene happens a totally different way now because I had a brilliant idea last night.
Yeah, that happened a bunch of times.
Yeah, that that is a very easy thing to do, but I always felt like you were able to ground me back to where we were headed in a way that I found to be very comforting. And I thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Glad to help.
Thanks.
It worked out. I'm really happy with what we did with the ending. For something that so many people have very mixed feelings about, I almost am even more pleased we did it the way we did it.
Same. Exact same.
Yeah.
Either they cheated on shadows, or Henry doesn't have one of his own. Look. That's that right there. Oh. No, those are real shadows. Henry doesn't have a shadow. truth is out there.
Hello? Is anybody there?
Hi. Yeah, it's me.
It's you.
I'm back at the staging area near the trailhead. I think I see your truck.
Red? Colorado plates?
Yeah. It's a piece of shit.
I love her.
Well, yeah.
I think there might be a raccoon living in it.
Make sure he's comfy, I guess.
Hey, it shouldn't take long for the helicopter to reach you.
Okay.
There's a debrief in a situation like this. Lots of questions.
Ah, shit. So, taking stock, we found out an old lookout killed his only son and decided to become a lonely hermit.
Yes.
And we prevented one fire?
Basically started another.
Okay, so that's a wash.
Oh, I'll have to figure out what I'm doing every summer from now on that isn't this.
You're not coming back?
No. And you'll have to... I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know what's next.
Tell you what, why don't you choose for me and I'll choose for you?
All right, sure. Maybe...
I don't remember what I chose. I think I chose move to Santa Fe.
Well, you'd make a great shrink.
Are you kidding me? You spent 10 weeks with me and God knows how much therapy it's going to take to undo this experience.
Well, you're a good conversationalist, I guess.
Even though you never told me about whoever you left behind.
Well, they'd probably give you some pointers at shrink school.
Okay, Henry.
So, what about me then?
Jeez. Well, you should probably put that typewriter to good use. Hey, if you ever decide to write about this, I'd really appreciate it if you gave me a sexy accent or something that, would play well in the movie version.
All right. I'll see what I can do.
Maybe get a dog?
Hold on. Let me write all this down.
Whenever the season's about to wrap up, I usually find myself thinking, and when I get back, I'm gonna call him. Casual, and just see how he's doing. I'll say something like, hey, I had a dream about you this summer and thought I'd call. Something that lets him know that I want him without letting him know I want him. Yeah, whatever you do, don't do that.
That is
There's the helicopter.
different dialogue than what I got the first time.
Land back where you hiked up.
Interesting.
Good luck, Henry.
Thanks, Delilah. I appreciate it.
I mean it. Good luck.
Thanks.
Bye, Hank.
All right, so I had another thought, a counter to the point of, yeah, it's understandable that Delilah isn't there waiting for you, right? She flees, she runs away. That's what she does. At the same time, to counter that, she is an employee of the National Park Service, right? I am an employee of the National Park Service. I'm not out here on holiday. I'm getting paid, and so is she. She's my supervisor. With all this shit that's happened, don't you think that we'd be going back to some centralized location, some headquarters, some state building, whatever, or national building, I guess? It's not a state building, it's a national park. And have some kind of debriefing, and like she said, why would our debriefings be separate? Why wouldn't they be the same? Why wouldn't we both be there talking about what happened and giving them, the whole story? So, you got that to chew on. There is that. Now, there is an alternate ending to this game. Although, I'm not going to show it to you guys. I'm going to save that for my next playthrough. This should be it. There's no station around here, right? There's not one in here. So that's Henry in there, eh? What? He's got a cassette? Can I not get the cassette? Will you just freaking give it to me, man? Will you just give it to me? Give me the cassette. Give me the cassette. I would like to give me the cassette. Oh, come on. This is silly. There we go.
Hi, it's James again.
Hey, it's Jake.
So now we're going to talk about the secret alternate ending to Firewatch.
Alright, so, I had to cut it because the song at the end of the game is, copyrighted, and I can't put it on my channel because it'll give me a claim. I know this because it gave me a claim the first time I put up Firewatch, and I had to redo it. So anyways, they basically said that they wanted an alternate ending in there because they wanted to show that, you know, in some ways, inaction is also action. And they thought it would be, you know, interesting that you would go out there and sit and watch and not get aboard the helicopter and watch it take off without you. And they joked around about, you know, what would happen to Henry? Did he burn alive? Did he stay in there and die? Did he hike out? What happened to him? And so they joked around about that, which I find interesting. Anyways, I really like the photographs, and I like how they put it at the end of the game. And I think the photographs really tell a story more about you and what you see in the game, right? Were you paranoid and took pictures thinking that you were collecting evidence? I mean, looking back on it, you're like, oh my god, I was collecting evidence? I am such a moron. Or did you use it for sightseeing? Or did you use it for something else? So I really like that. But I really am glad that they had a few pictures in there from Brian Goodwin. And I think that was the capper on Ned. I don't want to call him a bad father. I don't think he's a bad father. I just think he didn't know how to deal with the differences between him and his son. And I think those pictures kind of kept it showing that he cared, that he loved his son. He didn't kill his son. No, that's ridiculous. And it's just, he struggled with making the connection because they were so different. And that had to be hard on both of them, you know? It had to be hard on him, you know, this is my son. Why can't I connect with him? Why is he so different from me? Why doesn't he like the same things I like? And for someone who, I'm assuming that was his only son, you know, he didn't have previous experience with a child. They couldn't have been easy to deal with at all. And of course, from Brian's side, obviously that's not easy for him to deal with either. You know, that he can't connect to his own father. And why can't his father just understand him? Blah, 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 blah. All that kind of stuff. So I really liked that part of the game. Yeah, Ned didn't do it. No, that's not what happened. So anyways, there you go. That's Firewatch. That's the audio tour. And I will be doing one more LP of this. And it's probably not going to be till like next summer. You know, once the game has left my memory a little bit or something. And I just want to get a refresher. I don't know. But I have an idea on how to do it differently. I'll put it like that. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.